Hey guys, it's Morgan coming to you with a short video, something I've been meaning to talk about because I've had some questions in the past. I've fixed lots of stripped holes on this channel. Generally it's with a Helicoil, sometimes it's with the TimeSert, and I just realized a lot of you guys probably don't know what the difference is between that. And of course, a ton of you guys do. If you already know the difference, skip on past this video. You don't need my help. But there's a whole bunch of people that are new to turning wrenches, new to tearing things up and screwing things up. And I just figured I'd show you what the differences are and when you would want to use each one. So let's dive in. All right, let's start with the Helicoil. As the name suggests, it is a coil of wire, basically. I don't know what the heli part means. Maybe it's because it's like a helix, single helix instead of double like your DNA, but this is a Helicoil. The benefits to the Helicoil are that they are inexpensive. You can buy, I just bought a pack of 100 6 mil, so 6x1 for like 10 bucks for 100 of them. So the part themselves is cheap. Also, the kits, let me show you. You can buy kits like this from Napa for not a ton of money. I'm not sure exactly how much these are. You can look it up yourself, but they're not terribly expensive. You usually end up with 4 or 5 coils. You get the tap to get the hole to the right size. You get the installing tool. It's super simple, super easy. The downside to the coil is that as you run it in, you end up with this tang. Let's see if you guys can see that. Yeah, there we go. So you end up with that tang that's down in the hole because the tool takes a hold of that and spins this thing down in. Now, the problem is that tang is down in the motor or in whatever hole, and if it's a 6 mil hole, it's really hard to get something in there. This is big enough. You can probably get a real small set of needle nose, maybe get in there and pull it out. They do have a little relief right there on them that lets you break it off. Otherwise, you're taking something and you're knocking it down in. That's no problem if you have the part off the bike or whatever and it's just laying there and you can knock it through, throw it away. Part of the problem is a lot of times we strip things that are on the bike and we don't want to split the cases or whatever, take everything apart or to fix it. So that can be a big downside. Another downside is they're sort of temporary. They don't last forever. It is a coil. If you over tighten these with the bolt, you can kind of stretch them. I've also seen them get stuck onto the bolt and come out with the bolt. They're not perfect. They work good, but they're not perfect. A TimeSert, they also might be known as KingSert or something else. I always call them TimeSerts because that's the brand that I use. They are way more burly. This is more of a permanent fix. It's obviously a solid piece of metal. There's no coil, no nothing. It's a solid piece of metal. And once installed, it really doesn't want to come out. The tools for them are quite a bit more involved. Let's go back actually with the Helicoil. To install it, you take a drill that's just a tiny bit bigger than the original hole. Then you take the tap that comes with it, which is a little bit, which is the same as the outside of the Helicoil. Tap it, run this in, break that tang off, and you're good to go. It's relatively simple, relatively quick. With the TimeSert, you have to drill the hole to the right size, and it's quite a bit bigger. That's the other potential downside, is that you need to get quite a bit bigger. So if there's not enough meat around that hole, the TimeSert may not be the best choice. So you drill that out, then you take this, which is the countersink or counterbore, and you can see it's got these teeth. You run it in, it counterbores down to this depth. You see a little step right there, and you'll see why here in a second. Then you tap, then you take the driver, and the driver, it's almost impossible to tell here on the camera, but it's not perfectly round. Here, I'll show you real quick. So you come down in, mark the top of the driver where the hole, where it would bottom out, and the driver needs to go all the way through this thing, so depths are changed or whatever. Anyway, but so you mark that, then you take the driver and you oil these up because you want this to come back out, run it. And this driver, like I said, it's not perfectly round. It's got these funky steps in it. And as you go down in and this hits, the driver will spread that thing out just a little bit, and then you pull the driver out and you're good to go. There's other versions of the TimeSert style that use kind of a punch that comes in here and it spreads this top part out, and that shoulder is why you counterbore it, so that this ends up flush and really nice. I kind of like the other versions better, where you run it down until it seats flush, and then you have this punch, this big punch that drives in, and you just smack it and it flanges that out and it sticks. So now let's talk about where you might want to use the different ones of these. A good place for helicoils is like case covers. One of the things that gets stripped out all the time on dirt bikes is the clutch cover. So the inner clutch cover or the outer clutch cover, people over tighten them. It's a 6mm bolt with an 8mm head. Usually diesel mechanics get in there and spin it, they tighten it or whatever. So the nice thing about a helicoil with that, first of all, you don't have to remove everything, and it's really inexpensive and you can get it installed pretty quickly. It's something that you don't take on and off very often, and it just stays in there. If you ever do pull it off and it comes out, it's easy enough to reinstall, or you get the next clutch cover, inner cover, whatever, you fix it later. It's a quick fix, you can get it done really fast. That's what I like with helicoils, things that you don't have to remove and replace very often, and like little tiny things that it's also not a huge deal if it weeps a little bit because you didn't get it quite right and you're gonna have to fix it again later, but it gets you through the weekend. That's when I like helicoils. TimeSerts are way better for a permanent fix. We use these a lot on drain plugs. Guys that strip out cases on drain plugs, these are really nice for that, because theoretically, if you're maintaining your bike well, you should be taking the drain bolt out and putting it back in a lot. So I really like them for drain bolts. I like them for anything that is under a lot of stress. So we use these a lot on spark plug holes. If guys strip spark plug holes, these are great. Helicoils are absolutely terrible on spark plug holes. I know guys that have done them. I've also seen them get blown out. So on a spark plug hole, they're really good. Drain holes, they're really good. Anything that you need to be able to torque on more than like 7 or 8 foot-pounds, you want one of these. I honestly, we have these big ones of these. I almost never use them. Really, 95% of the time we use a helicoil, it's on a 6mm hole. So all those 8mm bolts all over your bike, those are 6mm holes. We use helicoils on those all the time. They work really good, low stress, low torque, easy enough to fix later if you just want to get through the weekend and get you through. So hope that's informative, guys. Hope that helps clear that up. If you're looking for some sort of kit to fix something on your bike that you either screwed up or the person before you screwed up, quick note, TimeSerts are crazy expensive. Like, I think this kit was $80 or something like that. And yeah, it came with a few TimeSerts and all the tools, but it's crazy expensive. If you buy the big TimeSert kit, it's with lots of different sizes. I mean, they're like, I've seen them upwards of $600-800 for a bunch of them. So TimeSerts are crazy expensive, but the fix is a lot more permanent. Hope that helps. Get out and pop some wheelies.